Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today we got a video from a channel called Unseen. This is Cyber Detective Outsmarts Cops by catching her sister's killer. The case of Shirley Leighty. And we're gonna get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment, think down below, let's go.
Growing up, Shelley Nagel was always protective of her little sister Sherry. When she got pregnant at only 15, Shelley was by her side, and since then, never stopped looking out for her. 8 years later, Shelley is throwing a big birthday party for her youngest son. She expects her little sister to join the celebration, yet she fails to show up.
When I didn't hear from her at all, I felt like something bad could have happened.
In the small town of Altoona, rumors start spreading that Sherry has run away, leaving her husband and children behind.
Deserted by their own mother. That's the story Sherry Leighty's children grew up believing.
My sister would never have just left the kids. Left him, yes. Left the kids, no.
When Shelley took her suspicions to the police, they refused to look into the case because of the rumors, but there was no way Shelley could accept this. Instead, she began investigating on her own by opening a Facebook page and directly messaging the various suspects she identified along the way.
This case went cold for more than a decade. Really, what took so long?
Sherry's sister Shelley started a Facebook page to solicit information.
She'll do whatever she can to...
I'm very curious of this. So this is a case of the police just wouldn't look into the case because there were rumors? Because police, you ain't supposed to care about who. You're supposed to do your job. I'm sorry, man. Listen, there's a rumor going around and we don't investigate crimes of rumors. There could be a whole slaughter going on, but if there's a rumor around it, we don't touch it, okay? We don't want to be involved in the rumors, alright? We don't get involved in gossip here, okay? Don't care if it's an actual crime. We don't get involved in the gossip.
to share her sister's story.
I had faith that I would be able to find her.
Even if it would turn the entire world against her, Shelley was ready to risk it all to find her sister.
Anything I could do. I was always looking for something, anything.
In the small town of Altoona, Pennsylvania, Shelley awaited her sister's arrival before singing happy birthday to her youngest son.
Thought everything would be fine. We never missed any of the kids' birthday parties, but everybody was there except for her.
Finally, someone rang the doorbell, and Shelley went to get it right away.
And there stood Sherry's husband and his dad, Ken Leighty.
When asked about Sherry, her husband said she recently left town to live with her boyfriend in Maine. Before he could continue, his father cut him off.
And Ken said something like, "I can't believe she left the kids."
Sheldon, the sister's father, told Aaron and Kenneth to leave. Afterward, he went to the police. While he was gone, Shelley kept trying to understand what happened. Why did Kenneth come along with Aaron? Why would Sherry leave without telling anyone?
That's curious to me is the guy. Why did he go there in the first place? Let's say he killed her, because I'm gonna assume he did, right? He did, and him and his father did. Why would you then go to the party where they're expecting her? Because that's gonna make you look way worse.
Didn't think that sounded right. Thought Aaron was lying, but I just didn't know why.
A few days later, Sheldon received terrible news from the detectives.
The police in Altoona had no reason to believe that she was in danger or that a crime had been committed. Their belief was simply that she had decided to leave and have no contact with her family.
Altoona was a small town, and rumors spread fast, aside from Sherry's siblings, who knew something was off.
This is some stupid bullshit. How do you listen? How do people be like, oh, she left, must have left the kids, her husband said so. Police left, well, I mean, husband said it. I mean, you can't tell me, they were never, in this case, in 1999, there was never ever a case in the history of life of a husband killing his wife. It never would have happened. So you can't tell me, in 1999, you couldn't tell these police officers such a foul thing could happen. If the husband said she left, I'll tell you what happened. Because a husband would never lie. A human would never lie to police. It's never happened before. Never in the history of existence has a person lied to police before. Fucking stupid.
Everybody seemed to think that history was simply repeating itself.
Our mother had abandoned all of us at a young age. I knew 100% that Sherry would never leave her children because that happened to us. There was nothing more important to that girl than her children.
1 month later, the police visited the Leightys and interviewed Sherry's father-in-law.
All the information was that Sherry got up to leave for work on a Friday morning. Her father-in-law, Kenneth Leighty, dropped her off where she worked, and that was the last time anyone had seen Sherry Leighty.
Kenneth eventually had to tell his 3 young grandchildren why their mother left them.
The Leightys led them children to believe that their mother ran off with another man, and that's why she wasn't around.
As the year went along, the Leighty...
That is insanity! I cannot believe how little this is being put into effect. How is this so little? How is so little being done? How? Fucking how? This is the worst investigation I have ever seen. You can't just take someone's word as that's it. Especially if you're police. People lie. It's in their DNA. Every human lies in some way. It doesn't matter how you do it. Every human has the ability in their DNA to lie. There is not a human being that has ever existed that hasn't lied at all. It's just, if you think you are, you're doing it right now. Because if you say you've never lied, and you've never lied, you're clearly you're doing it now. You're doing it now. So there you go. So it's impossible. Every person can lie.
He's completely cut off Sherry's family from their own.
I was around my nieces and nephews all the time. Our kids played together. After her disappearance, that came to an end.
But this didn't stop Sheldon, Sherry's father, from at least trying to get more information from the Leightys. He kept calling them, hoping they'd remember any more details about her disappearance. He also never stopped pushing for the police to do something.
That's what was a little worrisome. The police said, well, she's an adult and she can leave on her own if she wants. They had no answers. They haven't, seen her, heard of her, nothing. I feel like he kind of lost hope as far as getting any help from law enforcement.
Yeah, you would, because if people go like Tony, she just left the book. Well, she's an adult, so we don't have to look. That's pretty much the left of it. She's an adult, we don't have to look. The husband says she left, that's what happened. She's an adult, we don't have to look. This is 1999, right? So, I wish I could say that this is just because of the time frame. But officers today, in some areas, are about as stupid as these ones are in 1999. So I can't say that. It's just how police are. They will find any reason not to do their job.
During that period, the immense stress Sheldon kept subjecting himself to eventually took its toll. His already fledgling health kept getting worse and worse. Ultimately, he was hospitalized and couldn't fight for his daughter anymore. When the doctors told him that his time was coming, he summoned Shelley to his side.
Our dad was definitely heartbroken over.
Think of that. His obsession, his heartbreak, his pain of not finding her took such a toll, it affected his health even more. As he just wanted answers, but no one was willing to even try to get him answers.
The whole ordeal, I think he felt like he let her down. Like he wasn't there for her. The last time I was at the hospital with him, I did promise him that I'm gonna find her, I'm gonna bring her home. He passed away 2 days later. I believe my dad did die of a broken heart.
After she promised her father she would find Sherry, Shelley scoured the town, knocked on everybody's doors, and called anyone she could think of. Her investigation went on for 6 agonizing years without yielding any results. All the while, Richard kept trying to get the police to help, but they simply ignored him. Eventually, Shelley refocused her efforts online, first through MySpace in 2003, then via Facebook around 2009.
I started searching on a couple social medias. First started sending friend requests to anybody I could think of. Her friends, my friends.
In 2011, Facebook implemented a new feature that completely changed how people used the platform. Group pages allowed users to gather and interact around a single subject matter, giving Shelley an idea.
And I just thought, well, I'll just make her a page and see if that helps at all. The Facebook page is what started everything.
The issue with her previous efforts was that in Altoona, everyone knew each other and rumors spread fast, so nobody seemed to be ready to risk it by publicly divulging what they knew. But things were different behind the curtain of anonymity offered by the internet. One of the first people to reach out to her was an individual known as John B. He claimed to be a neighbor of the Leighty's and witnessed that their behavior completely changed since Sherry's disappearance.
Hold on, go back, hold on. I have information about Shelley, but I need to stay
Neighbor
anonymous.
of the Leighty's
They all know something, they just don't want to come out and
witnessed
say
that their
it.
behavior completely.
They might as well have written "Murder lives here" on the door. Fair. You know what? Fair.
Changed since Sherry's disappearance.
He said the doors used to be open all the time because he used to go in and hang out with them. But after Sherry went missing, no one was outside, and the only person you could speak to was Aaron's dad.
More concerning messages started pouring in, most of them pointing towards Kenneth, Aaron, and some even at Ryan, the mysterious boyfriend the ladies claimed had taken Sherry.
Literally, everyone is scared of him. He sneaked into a room when he thought she was sleeping. Be careful you confide about what I've said. He is dead. Wow. So this guy has literally put a reputation where people will come out anonymously in this area and just straight will say what's going on.
To Maine. John B. too kept messaging the page, claiming that Sherry told him how Kenneth was obsessed with her and how scared she was to be left alone with him. Aaron's ex-girlfriend also told her that his son, Shelley's nephew, knew where his mother was, the lady's 150 acres of camping grounds up in Warriors Mark. At the same time, an individual hidden behind an anonymous account told her this: Sherry's still alive, but you will never see her again.
For someone to say something.
My immediate thought would be this. You send a message to me saying stop looking for her, she's alive, but you'll never see her again. I'd be more suspicious of that than I would be if someone just said, you know, hey, she's dead. Somehow she said, hey, she's dead, I'd believe you. You say, hey, don't look for her, I'm gonna believe the person behind it knows something more.
Like that kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I have to tell the police this because this was something we never even heard of.
But even this string of revelations wasn't enough to get the police.
No, they're not. No, because that will involve them doing their job. They don't care. I'm telling you. The only way. Police, I swear to God, you have to find a body. You have to find the person writing a note to them. You have to have a videotape of the person writing the note saying they did it. Or they have to look you in the eye. Probably not even that. They'd have to look to the police in the eye like, yeah, I killed her. That seems to be the only way anymore.
To start an investigation. Shelley knew she needed concrete evidence if she'd ever hoped to get the authorities' attention.
Sherry had been missing for 11 years. I had faith that I would be able to find her.
So she started digging into her sister's past, looking for anything she could have missed 12 years ago. And this is when Shelley finally identified the missing link, the one person nobody even attempted to talk to since Sherry's disappearance.
I tried a new tactic to get more information, so I began looking for Ryan. I knew Ryan's last name, so I eventually came across him through, I believe it was his wife's page.
Even though she believed that Aaron and Kenneth were somehow involved, it didn't necessarily mean that Ryan, the mysterious boyfriend who allegedly took Sherry to Maine in 1999, wasn't a potential suspect.
I wasn't sure what his involvement was, so I didn't want to say too much. I just needed to know from him where he thought my sister was.
Shelley sent him a message, crossed her fingers, and armed herself with patience. 3 days after asking him if he had any information about Sherry, Ryan finally answered.
He reached back out to me and said he did remember her, and the last time he saw her was when Aaron confronted him. He told me that him and Sherry were in the alley behind the Leighty's house.
In an altercation that Shelley never heard about before, Aaron and Ryan got into a fistfight over Sherry. Her sister attempted to break them off, but Aaron pushed her away and told her he wouldn't hesitate to kill her if she was ever seen with Ryan again.
This was a huge piece of information. He told me Sherry just ended it with him there. She had never moved with him to Maine, so what could have happened to her? The whole story of her leaving was based around this, and according to him, this wasn't true.
Shelley wanted to go to the police right away, but her brother Richard reminded her that after years of harassing the authorities, the police stopped trusting them a long time ago. Instead, he asked Ryan to do them a favor.
He got Ryan to talk to the police to verify Sherry never left this town with him.
And finally, for the first time in 12 years, the Altoona police were considering declaring Sherry missing.
Oh my god, so they're just like, hey, Ryan, can you please, listen, these police fucking suck at their job. Can you please call them and just tell them you're not, my sister's not with you. And he's like, okay. So he calls him, he's like, yeah, wait, that Sherry never left. She never left that town, she never came with me. I wish she did, we planned to, but you know, her husband at the time was fucking crazy. Her husband was crazy, he lost it. So, unfortunately, yeah, no, she didn't leave me. And I'm like, oh, okay, we can investigate this now. Because the sister didn't say it, so we can do it.
And opening a case.
Reaching out to Ryan was the reason that she had credibility as far as the Altoona Police Department was concerned. So Shelley really gets the credit there.
Now that the police officially declared Sherry missing and that Ryan had been eliminated from the list of potential suspects, Shelley finally made her move. She told the police that the person responsible for her sister's disappearance was most likely Aaron Leighty, probably with the help of his father, Kenneth.
Aaron Leighty was absolutely a person of interest, and the fact that he believed she was cheating on him would have led to him possibly having motive to kill her.
Yeah.
Afterward, months went by without any action from the police. Shelley knew they would eventually interview Aaron again, but she was tired of constantly waiting on them. So, she decided to take matters into her own hands.
No. I know why you did this. You can't trust the police. They have not done anything for over 10 years. For like 13, 14 years. You just can't trust them anymore, I understand. But you're gonna put yourself in a position where if you keep doing it, it's just gonna backfire.
Once again, she headed to the courthouse to gather more information on Sherry and Aaron's divorce. She discovered a document dating June 10, 1999, stating that Sherry would be granted legal and physical custody of the children after the procedure. Convinced that she finally got her...
Ooh, okay, there's your motive. So he would have... Their marriage would have ended because he thought she was cheating. Plus, she would have gotten custody of the kids when the thing ended. Oh, yeah. There's your motive for why he killed her.
Her hand on the actual motive of the crime. She returned to the police, and once again, they dismissed her findings as irrelevant.
We were skeptical, to say the least. It seemed as if Aaron was attempting to cooperate with law enforcement the entire time, but they still had suspicions.
Aaron...
You can't just ignore everything to fit your motive, police. If I was a detective and I saw that she had, it was dinged that when the divorce was good, she would have custody of the kids, and the ex, the boyfriend that everyone thought is completely ruled out. That is my motive. I couldn't just ignore and be like, yeah, it's not that. That's not what we want to look into. No, you have to look. That would be my main motive. How do you just look at him and think that's irrelevant because of course he's gonna cooperate. Because you think he's suspicious if he didn't. Fuck. Ugh. Losing it.
Aaron's willingness to work with the police pushed the investigators in another direction. What if his father, Kenneth, acted out of his own accord?
He didn't know!
That's when they decided to do something that should have probably been done 13 years ago. After dropping Sherry off on the day of her disappearance, Kenneth claims that he went to work, so the police finally checked with his employers if they could corroborate this.
He said he was at work and he wasn't at work. And if he was not involved, there would be no reason to lie to the police.
Following this discovery,
Where do you even go to get that information? That is 13, this is over 10, 15, there's no way. I would think you'd be able to still check who was in the work that day and who wouldn't be that long. Do you know how hard that would be to do? You couldn't just make a phone call and they have the answer. I can't think that would be the way that'd go. What business was this?
They sat with Aaron a second time.
We didn't know whose team Aaron was on, so we needed to make sure that he knew he was going to be a focus as well as his dad, and we needed his help.
Except for a few texts from the Facebook group, the police still had no evidence at all. They had a motive against Aaron, but nothing concerning Kenneth. They knew they were onto something because Kenneth categorically refused to collaborate. The cops also knew about Warrior's Mark, the presumed location of Sherry's body that Shelley shared with them a year earlier. Still, Kenneth refused to allow them to search the property, and the DA denied a search warrant due to the lack of evidence. Instead, he proposed a different idea.
Under the wiretap law in Pennsylvania, if one person agrees to make a phone call to the other, they can consent to be recorded. Aaron agreed to call his father to see if Kenneth would talk about the case.
At the police barrack, the detectives hooked Aaron's phone onto a recording device and had him call his father. They also provided him with a script and told him to stick to it, but Aaron quickly lost his cool as the conversation went along. He intended to prove to them that his father was innocent. However, it seemed like he too had been fooled all along.
The way Ken was answering, Aaron knew that something happened. He knew his father was lying to him.
Aaron was upset on the phone. His dad was upset on the phone.
Yeah, that's not a conversation that you could keep a guy to a script. As long as he doesn't give anything away, he kind of has to go on his own accord, because if he goes to a script, it won't be believable, because you can't, he knows, the dad knows how his son talks, so the son has to react his own way accordingly.
And out of the blue, Kenneth said, "I did it."
He claims that it was an accident. He confronted her on the street after he learned she had been seeing Ryan. He allegedly only wanted to push her around, not kill her, but eventually, she fell to the ground, hitting her head in the process. Shelley was shocked when the police shared the news with her.
It didn't seem real. Like, this was the first time I heard.
I still ain't convinced that that husband is not a part of it. Like, I can't be convinced that the father pushed him over her and he had no clue. I can't buy it.
Someone say that Sherry wasn't here anymore.
During the call, the detectives couldn't help but notice how Kenneth meticulously chose his words. It seemed like he knew how to differentiate murder from manslaughter and aimed to be charged with the latter. Now armed with a recording of his confession, the police didn't lose any more time.
That's when I sent troopers and the detectives up to Altoona to interview Ken at his residence.
At the lady's home, the detective immediately revealed to Kenneth that he had been recorded and that they planned to arrest him for the murder of Sherry. Then, suddenly, he stood up and punched the trooper in front of him right in the face.
He assaulted a police officer.
I love this guy. He's like, "Sir, we're gonna arrest you for murder." And he's like, "Oh, is that so?" Just gets up. No, you're not. Why would you punch the guy after he tells you he's gonna arrest you? What does that hope to accomplish? What do you hope to accomplish there? What do you hope to accomplish with that, you fucking idiot? I just love how he stands up and just punches the officer for no reason.
Sir, knocked the police officer to the ground.
At this point, Mr. Leighty run upstairs where he had a gun. There's a slight scuffle. They tackle him into residence. He was handcuffed, and Mr. Leighty was placed in the Blair County Prison with aggravated assault charges against the troopers and the detective.
Thanks to Shelley's years-long effort, Kenneth was locked up, and the police also knew the approximate location of Sherry's body. While investigating online, Shelley learned about Warrior's Mark, the Leighty's family camping ground. She was convinced this was where they would find Sherry. At 150 acres, the area was large, but still manageable. So following Kenneth's arrest, the Pennsylvania State Police started searching.
Everyone had high hopes that we were going to find this missing lady in fairly short order.
Eventually, there were between 50 and 100 people on the property searching. from early morning until dusk.
According to the DA, finding the body was the only way they could make sure Kenneth would get sentenced for murder. He was convinced Sherry's remains would prove her death was more than a simple accident. He brought in woodland experts, cadaver dogs, and local hunters, but couldn't find anything helpful. After searching for 5 days, the sergeant in charge of the search made a somewhat controversial decision.
After we searched the property for the first week, the decision was made by myself and my superiors that it was time for us to pull off the property.
Shelley couldn't believe it. All of her efforts were in vain. She had waited 13 years for this, and the police officially canceled all search efforts after only 5 days.
All this time, just wanted to get out and...
We didn't find her in 5 days. We checked a whole 10 acres of 150. We didn't find her. What do you want us to do? We're done. Call it quits, guys.
start digging myself.
Following the cancellation, the authorities were out of options, so the DA followed with another, greatly disputed choice. Acting out of his own accord, and without the consent of Shelley nor Richard, he went directly to Kenneth's attorney.
I made the decision to go to Leighty's attorneys and try to come up with a deal. I put third degree.
I am about to smack every single person in this thing in the face. These cops are idiots. These cops are there's some corruptedness here. There is some laziness with these officers. There is so much wrong here that I can't believe it.
Murder on the table.
Now, even forensic evidence couldn't change the verdict. No matter what they'd find in the woods, Kenneth could expect a shot at parole after only 7 years in jail.
I was very angry. I didn't understand why they had to make a deal with him, and without asking the family first how we felt.
The next day, the detectives brought Kenneth to Warrior's Mark and started searching again for Sherry. After a few mishaps, Kenneth pointed out a rock mound by the camping grounds where he usually brought his grandchildren to camp during the summer.
I started throwing rocks off the pile. A void appeared. As I leaned forward on the rocks, I was on all fours and I could look down in the hole. There's a bone in that hole. We knew we had found Sherry Lane.
For the past 13 years, Sherry's children have camped with their grandfather right next to the remains of their own mother.
I think he's evil. All this time the kids thinking their mom left them all along knowing.
I hate these police right now. Why did you make this choice? Knowing you would... I understand the thought. Okay, you will get parole after... You have the chance to get parole after 7 years if you just show us where she's buried. Let us find this body. But the problem you gave yourself is that there was, no matter if she was killed in every brutal fashion you could find, you have just sentenced and given this guy his way out. And that's what the problem is.
What he did to their mom?
The discovery of Sherry's remains countered Kenneth's claims.
There was no way it was an accident. Caused that type of injury, Candy would have had to have dropped a bowling ball on her head accidentally.
While in detention, Kenneth refused to talk to the police. He admitted that he used a weapon to murder Sherry, but refused to explain further. Looking into his past, one could easily assume that Sherry's end was dire. Amongst the multiple rumors of sexual violence surrounding him, Shelley learned that he allegedly raped his wife's sister and a teenage girl back in his hometown. So Shelley and Richard supposed that Kenneth probably attempted to rape their sister, but she fought back, and he killed her in response. Even if he refused to collaborate with the police after discovering the body, Kenneth was only sentenced to 7 to 14 years of prison, as promised by the DA. Now that the case was closed once and for all, Shelley, Richard, and their families finally paid their respect to their returned sister.
When we finally got her home, we did have a memorial service for her. She was then buried with our father. I miss Sherry a lot, and I know that she's finally at rest. She's with our dad. He just wanted to be with her.
But their rest was short-lived. In 2020, Kenneth's minimum sentence was completed and was allowed to attempt parole.
When Kenneth Leighty came up for his first parole hearing in 2020, I did speak in front of the parole board.
And every year moving forward, Shelley must carry on the fight for her sister. Here's an excerpt from one of her addresses. In it, she is directly talking to Kenneth.
My family has been through living hell not knowing what happened to Sherry. We knew she would have never left her young children Sherry's most basic right, her right to life, was cruelly and unjustly taken from her. I lost a sister, but they lost a mother.
On top of her addresses to the parole board, Shelley continues to manage her sister's memorial page on Facebook. Together with the community she assembled there, she's doing everything possible to keep Kenneth Leighty incarcerated.
I did start a petition. The first hearing, I think I had over 2,000, and the second hearing, I had over 7,000.
In her book, Through a Sister's Eyes, published in 2016, Shelley recalled losing more than her sister in 1999. She lost her faith in law enforcement and ultimately the criminal justice system. The sentiment was also shared by the DA responsible for Kenneth's condemnation in 2013.
I can't speak to what happened in 1999. Would we have done things different today? Yeah, probably.
If it wasn't for Shelley, I still believe to this day that we would not know where Sherry is.
The problem with that statement that you say you would have done things differently is you are the reason. In 2012 or 13, you're the reason that some bitch is sitting there for 7 or 8, 14 years. Because you made the conscious choice. Instead of searching, you made the choice to give this guy a very, very weak sentence. A very lenient sentence. Instead of just fucking looking. And that's what annoys me about this, because you can't say, oh, we would have done things different. You're still the reason there's a fucked up part of this investigation. From 1999 to 2013 and fucking beyond, this woman has no reason to trust anything a cop says to her, because y'all full of shit and you've been treating her sister's death as nothing for over a decade. And then even when she gave you a bunch of shit, you said did nothing. You gave the weakest way out of the investigation. You really did fuck all in this. And you just didn't care. You have no right to say you would have done things differently now than you did in 1999, Mr. DA. You're the reason that dude has a light sentence, you stupid fuck.
I know Sherry would have done the same for me. I promised my dad, and Sherry was my best friend. Just an amazing person.
Today, the memory of Sherry lives on through Shelley, Richard, and her now adult children. For the sake of all the other families with a missing loved one, Shelley keeps marching on, fighting not only for Sherry, but all victims of violence.
Overall, I just wanted to get her story out there. I will continue to be Sherry's voice. And any opportunity available to me, I will tell her story.
Well, y'all should sign this petition. Because that man should never be. I want that man. Because I don't know how old he is. So he might still, at one point, he got arrested in 2013. So, because that would be 7 years for 2020. So 14 years would be 2027. So I want him to stay there until then. This is one of those also cases where I wish I had a true crime podcast. I would love to interview that woman. Her name is Shelley? Yeah. I would love to interview Shelley and have her say the story of everything that happened. But I don't have the platform to. I got this channel, but this doesn't have the reach, and yeah, it doesn't. It wouldn't work. She wouldn't want to talk to me on this channel. But anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all for the next one.